two words. If you get these words right and change them in your subconscious, it will shift your entire world. You'll start to move from stress to peace, from anxiety to joy, and have more joy and fulfillment. Two words, stay with me. I'm going to share exactly what they are and how to apply them. This is not some hocus pocus. Okay. So stay tuned. This radically changed my life. Wow. 2020. I'd been in business for 15 years, or no, I'm sorry, 5 years. I've been in business 9.5 years now, but in 2020, I've been in business for about 5 years at this particular time. And I was on an online meeting with someone, and all of a sudden, hello, cough. I'm like, and it got worse and worse and worse. Pretty soon, I just didn't feel good at all. And pretty soon, this cough was uncontrollable. I couldn't produce any videos because I could not talk without coughing. And I continued to get worse and sicker and sicker. Pretty soon, I was in bed day after day, week after week, month after month for 6 months. It was debilitating. I had to hold myself up on the wall to go to the bathroom. I was crushing it in my business, and all of a sudden, I wasn't able to do much of anything. And I was pushing myself hard. Everything that gave me purpose and reason and fulfillment, I couldn't do anymore because I was getting it all from performance. On the things, hey Mark, how you doing, man? Or Mac, how you doing? All the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do. Literally in bed, 14 hours a day. And the rest of the time I was just, have you ever had that type of like, even like a flu or something? But this went on for 6 months. Plus the cough didn't disappear until 18 months. I got an umbilical hernia from that, which was nasty. I lost 19 pounds. And so as I was sitting there, first and foremost, I was worried. It's like, I'm not going to be able to get to a meeting. How am I going to bring clients in? How am I going to be able to survive? And pretty soon I got to the place where I'm like, God, if you don't heal me, I may be thrown out into the street. These are the thoughts that were going through my mind. Have you ever been there? And your mind can run wild. But I didn't get better. I got worse. And then around month 3 or so, I was laying in bed and all of a sudden, these hot tears were running down my cheek. Not from pain, not from worry, not from exhaustion, from joy. At that time, at that moment in time, it was like God impressed upon me, Chaz, you can see, you can hear, you can taste, you can feel. I had all 5 senses. And that may not seem like much, but to me, it was everything. And I was focused on all the things I didn't have. But all of a sudden, I realized all the things that I did have. And at that moment in time, I came up with a value statement for my life. Joy does not come from getting what you want. It appears when you realize all that you have and get to do. If you look at some of these third world countries, have you seen some of the pictures and videos of the kids. They're living, there's flies, there's no food, and they're laughing and smiling. Why is that? Then in the United States, where we have all this wealth, where we have all this comfort, we have so much misery. So, what's the difference? Third world country with the Western world. Why? That's what I want to dig deep into. So, as I was continuing to think about my life and my thought processes, I realized my subconscious language was taking me to a place of lack, of scarcity. It was sucking the joy out of my life. It was keeping me from having happiness and true fulfillment. When everything was taken away from me in the ways of performance and being able to do and accomplish, when all that was taken away, I started to see things from a different perspective. I had a paradigm shift, as Stephen Covey would say it. And it was at that time I'd get little ideas and glimpses of what my subconscious was in the story I was telling myself and where it was taking me. You know, Tony Robbins is famous for saying, "You are where you are because of the story you tell yourself." Our biggest obstacle is up here. We also have our best leverage point up here. It depends upon our perspective and how we see things in our internal dialogue, the story that we tell ourselves. So, what I realized through life, I was working hard, 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 hard. And the thing that was driving me was, I don't have this. And then on the other flip side of that is, I have to do this. I don't have that. Oh, I got to do this. And so, what I was saying in my mind, it was taking me to a place of mediocrity and misery within my mind. I don't know how better to describe it. I was not self aware of how much misery I was taking myself through because I didn't understand the words that I was telling myself over and over and over again. They'd say you do like have anywhere from like 20,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Most of those are negative, but beyond whether being positive or negative, it's the self-talk and how you talk to yourself determines where you go. And it's not just about being successful. You look at some of the most successful people in the world, Elon Musk. I mean, he's going to be a trillionaire. And if you look at his childhood, I mean, he was tortured by his dad. He is leveraging darkness for success. Not every billionaire is like that, but many of them, they are succeeding in ways that we never thought possible, but inside, they're miserable. And I had the opportunity to have all this taken away from me because I could not perform. And because I could not perform, I got clarity and I got absolute perspective. If you saw the video with Alex Hormozy and Tony Robbins, it was an interview recently. And Alex Hormozy said, I got to the point where I was like, F happiness. And he was talking about, you know, just the power of going through suffering. And Tony Robbins said, F suffering. And Tony Robbins, you should look it up on YouTube. It's such a good interview. It's so revealing. And Alex was there as a pupil in front of Tony Robbins, two masters, but one in front of the master and listening to him and learning. And Tony drew out of him the misery that Alex was living through because he didn't allow him. As Tony said it, he was programming himself. He was hypnotizing himself, as the words that Tony used, to not experience happiness. And if you could have everything in the world and all the money and you don't have joy and happiness and fulfillment, forget that. So the two words, I was saying I have to. I and here's a silly example. I have an Aussie, an Australian Shepherd, my CFO, my Chief Fun Officer, also known as my dog, and I named her this because of how sick I was at the time, and she was always wanting to have fun with. It's like, hey, let's go out and play. Aussies are very active. I'm like, man, I cannot go out. Louie, that's her name. Anyway, so and there, I brush her teeth, and I was like, oh man, I gotta brush her teeth today. And then I was thinking, oh, I gotta do this. So I was constantly saying, I have to, and I was constantly saying, I don't have and don't have. So the shift I made was, I get to in all the things I have. So it's actually one word when you say get to as opposed to have to. And when you shift that within your, and it's not something overnight that happens, you got to be so cognizant of what you're saying so that you can catch it, you can nip it in the bud before you're saying that. I we make thousands and thousands of decisions in an hour. It's just crazy how our brain is working overtime. And if we're not self-aware in the self-talk that we're telling ourselves, then you're going to miss on being able to nip it in the bud and insert get to instead of have to. Here's something that will help you get a red flag. When this red flag comes up, it's a way to be aware that there's something below what's going on. If you ever have a anxious feeling or stress or fear or anger, and typically below the surface, everything is fear is going to take you to anger, anxiety, and all these different things. So if you have a feeling of stress, anxiety, just feeling down, your mind is probably going to, oh, I don't have this. I have to do this. And if you can nip that in the bud quickly and insert, I get to. So now, you know what? I get to brush Louie's teeth, my CFO's teeth. It may sound like a silly example, but it makes a big difference because if she was not here, I would not have to brush her teeth. Think about that. What in your life is a pain or a problem that you face it? You're like, oh man, I got to do this. I got to do this. I have to do this. Shift it to I get to. And it's not an exercise in semantics. It's an exercise of really going through the process and thinking about what it's like that I actually get to. Like for my dog, for that example, my kids are grown. They both work for me part time, but they're grown. They're out of the house. And so my dog is my constant companion. She's my CFO. And if she wasn't around, that would be if something happened to her, and there's going to be a time and a day when that happens, that's going to bring sadness to me. So when my mind starts to go, I've shifted in my mind. It's taken me like a year so that I automatically go to get to. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, I get to brush Louie's teeth. It seems like a silly example. It's all these little have tos replaced by get tos that shifts your entire world. And if you start to go through your day and catch yourself because you have anxiety, you have worry, you're like stressed, it's like, oh, just find out what it is that you are saying within your mind. And I guarantee it's some version of I have to or I don't have. And if you shift that to get to, you'll have more joy, you'll have more peace, you'll have more fulfillment. And then the phrase that I came up with, one of the value phrases for my life, you can adopt. Joy does not come from getting what you want, it appears. Seriously, it appears when you realize all, all that you have and get to do. Do that Practice it. And if you do this for 66 days, you will have a habit in place. A habit is not 21 days, it's 66 days. Catch yourself, get a journal out and journal every morning. I get to blank, I get to blank, and then before you go to bed, I get to blank, I get to blank. Thank you that I have blank. If you shift your mind to gratitude, but those words get to, as opposed to have to, get to instead of have to. Do that, and then you will realize that joy does appear when you realize all that you have and get to do.